Hi class, welcome to week 5 of business communication. I want to share a little bit about this week's content and then also go over the assignments to make sure that you feel informed and ready to tackle the week ahead. This week we'll be covering social media and personal branding. I would call this more of a career-focused week. We've talked a lot about emotional intelligence and empathy and maybe leadership styles, heavy focus on communication. But now we're specifically going to be kind of drilling down to personal branding, right? And this idea that you're marketing yourself professionally in the business world. So the first content this week is a video discussion, and this video specifically is on networking. Networking is a wonderful talent to have. And we all have different comfort levels, right? It can feel very vulnerable. Sometimes we're maybe less extroverted and it takes a heavy toll for us just to be outgoing and to talk to strangers. But I think it's hard to argue that it's not beneficial to be able to network successfully when you want to. And this doesn't have to be in the workplace, right? This could be at a social setting, a backyard barbecue as the weather's improving, just to find people who have similar interests to yours. Or it could be at a professional event. You know, maybe it's a networking kind of cocktail hour in the evening. It could be a training where you're meeting other professionals, or it could just be what I call internal networking. And that's when you're meeting and networking within your existing organization. So maybe you get sent to a required training with other managers from the same company, right? Or maybe you get asked to be on a committee or something like that. Those are opportunities to meet people that you can learn from, that you might enjoy spending time with, and also could be helpful to your career development. And so as you watch this video, I would just challenge you to maybe do a quick self-assessment. Have you had much experience with professional networking? Do you feel comfortable in those settings? And maybe reflect, is this something that you want to improve on, right? Not all roles or individuals in this class might want to become super networkers, right? That might not be something that you find interesting or comfortable, or it might not be super beneficial to whatever career focus that you've chosen. But I do think it's wonderful for all of us to think through those things and also honestly reflect, is this something that we can get better at? I'll tell you one thing I've had to practice is when I go to a networking event, getting more comfortable finding opportunities to join conversations or to transition out of a conversation. It's really easy to sign up for an event and be really excited, and then when you get there, have some nerves, right? And it's just a room full of strangers. And so practicing openers to introduce yourself to people or to slide into a group conversation is definitely a helpful tool. And then also figuring out polite ways to transition away, right? Where you might thank someone and say, oh, it was great to catch up with you. I look forward to staying in touch. I see someone else I know I need to go say hi to, or whatever the transition is, right? So that you don't go to a networking event with 100 people and then end up only talking to one person for the entire time. Love to know your thoughts on the topic of networking in general, and also hear your thoughts on this video. The second video discussion this week is a TED Talk, and it introduces the idea of reskilling and what I would call sometimes is a career transition, right? I'm super excited about this development professionally and kind of socially, where it's very common now to meet people who are in what I would call a second career. Maybe you had a first career in a specific area of focus, and then later in life you realized that you found something that you were more passionate about, and so maybe you changed careers. Maybe you had a setback within your industry, and I would give the example of maybe you're a residential realtor, and the market turns, and that's what you thought you were going to do, but it's not very profitable for a period of time, so maybe you find a second career. Some people retire from a career and then find a second career, and it's something that they're passionate about, right? Maybe it's more about self-fulfillment and less about income. Other times people just, follow the best opportunity available and they transition. I'm a big advocate of just continuing to grow and explore opportunities, even if you're feeling really happy or fulfilled in what you're doing. And so I love this idea that there's less stigma now on career changes, people trying something new. Years ago, I think that people would talk about how it was tough to transition between industries and to kind of restart. And I think there's just a lot more acceptance and examples of people who were very successful at something and then had a unique opportunity or wanted to do something that they never had the time for. And so, again, like all the discussions, this class has done a wonderful job. To get full credit, you need one original post to share with the class your thoughts on the topic and the video. And then you also need to respond to at least 2 classmates to earn full credit. Most of you have been doing that consistently, but I just want to reiterate, that's the theme for all discussions. 1 original post and 2 classmate responses in order to get full credit. Before we go into the last assignment, or I guess as we go into the last assignment, I want to talk about personal and professional development. This is a topic that I'm super passionate about and actually I think is very interesting and fun. I know for some people, even in my life, friends and family, they tell me that I've got a very unusual interest in career and personal development. But it's something that I think is super important, and what better area of life to invest in than yourself. I've taught at PCC a class on professional development where the entire class was based on building your professional portfolio, resume, cover letter, interview practice, and I think those are incredible skills to have. You don't know when you'll need them, right? The idea of an elevator pitch, many of you have heard that, is you might bump into someone just in your normal life where there's an opportunity to sell yourself, right? Maybe this person could help launch your career, or maybe you could work for them, or they know someone that they could introduce to you that'd be a powerful influence on your career. And so not missing those opportunities is the goal, right? Not just to go around and be telling everyone you meet what they can do for you, but being prepared on what it is that you're looking for and what your strengths are, right? So that if you get in front of someone in just the amount of time it takes to ride an elevator, that you wouldn't miss the chance to sell yourself effectively. And so on that note of personal brand, we'll call it, and professional development, this week you're going to do an assignment that's going to allow you to work on several pieces of what a typical personal portfolio looks like, and then put it all together in kind of a single cohesive either document or link that we're going to call your professional portfolio. What I would suggest that you do to get started on this assignment is first watch the video here about Canva. Canva, if you haven't used it, is a free, but you can also pay for upgraded versions, but free design tool that's so much easier to use, in my opinion, than some really, really expensive and complicated professional graphic design programs. And it makes way more interesting presentations and layouts than PowerPoint and some of the other really basic presentation documents. And so please watch this video. It's basically a tutorial on how to use Canva and how to specifically find some templates where you're just updating sections for the most part with your personal details for this assignment. Once you've watched how to use Canva, I would recommend that you look at these 2 examples of portfolios that previous students have submitted. It's not just the design that I want you to observe, but also just the layout and the different components, right? It's really helpful to see an example before you go out and try to create something from scratch. Once you've absorbed all of that, the task for you is to create a Canva presentation. You can either upload a PDF of your presentation or a link to it digitally. And within your portfolio presentation, you're going to complete a SWOT analysis. You can use SWOT or just strengths and weaknesses. So list out maybe some of your strengths and weaknesses. This is supposed to help you figure out where you excel and maybe some areas that you might want to pursue some additional development, right? Or practice or coaching or some resources. On that same slide or similar slides, you can try to come up with a personal mission, vision, values, and then a unique selling proposition. Like, that's more of a business term, but what is your unique skill set or opportunity? What are you looking to do? Please look at the examples for that. The rest of these components are all going to be included in your Canva slideshow, essentially, and how you include them is up to you. You have some room for creativity. You will notice on several of the examples, headshot, logo, and a bio, kind of written bio, can all be on one slide, right? That's easy to do. Same thing with strengths and weaknesses and some of these other components. This could be a single slide, or it could be several if you want to go into greater detail. The last two sections are going to be some example of an online presence. For many of you, this is probably just going to be like a screenshot of your LinkedIn profile. I realize some of you may not have LinkedIn or might have reservations around that. And so reach out to me offline if you'd like to discuss. But let's use LinkedIn as an example. So you'd have a slide where you would share some screenshots and maybe a little bit of information about your online presence. Whether that's LinkedIn, could be other examples. You might have, maybe you have a storefront because you have your own Etsy store. Maybe you have a personal blog. Maybe you have a website that you've developed or a website for the business that you own or work for. Those can all be part of your online presence. Finally, the content creation section. I want to see at least a one-page resume, and then there's some optional items like the blog post and the infographic or a photo. I'm not going to require those. I don't want to get so detailed in this assignment that it overwhelms you. But I hope that you can see if you put all this together, it starts to feel like a comprehensive snapshot of an individual, right? With strengths and weaknesses, your logo, headshot. It's almost like you're a brand, and you could give this to people so they could understand you better and also understand what your strengths that you might bring to a team or an organization. So hopefully that's helpful to you. If you need any more detail or clarification, please reach out. And what I want to end with is just a follow-up, kind of looking ahead. We are in week 5. If you look at the calendar on the left here, so we are at the halfway mark for the course. And next week is our first team assignment. And so please be communicating with your team members. I've seen some great dialogue so far. Several groups have reached out to me and let me know that people have connected and they're figuring out schedules and how to proceed. So no team activities are due this week. The most important thing is just to have an active conversation with your team so you know different people's availability and you are planning on how you're going to collaborate for upcoming assignments. As always, please reach out with any questions. I am here to help. I want to be your advocate and supporter, and so I love it if you have any questions or just feedback that you would send me an email, give me a call, or shoot me a text. Hope you have a great week.